Scales and Scales, The Empty Throne, Chapter 22, Revelations. Being rescued by the Knights of the Mist, Silvus did not expect his cousin to be among them. His reason for joining Silvus' adventure was to join the Knights in the first place. And there he is, wearing the white-plated armor, with the symbol of the Knights itself, a dark blue sword in the middle of a light blue comet coming down, looking proud while the other 9 knights came forward. Another question in Silvus' mind is how Eiko and the knights knew he was kidnapped. "How did you guys find us?" Eiko makes a charming smile, posing like a hero with his folded claws to his hips, telling him, "Well, cousin, it's a long story. While you were with Arcus, I came across the knights themselves during the tour, and I convinced them to sign me up." Eiko pauses at the sight of a sick-looking Silvira, leaning against the wall, making a small gasp. "What's wrong with Auntie Silvira? She looks like she needs a healer." Silvus sees his mother groaning by the wall, looking worse. He runs up to her, putting a hidden ear to her chest, to make sure she is still breathing. Turning to the knights, he says with a worried tone, "A dark mistcaster did something to her, and she really needs help, and fast." "That is why we are here, my lord," one of the knights stepped forward. "You're lucky that your cousin spotted you, being taken away to tell us. If not, we will never learn of your situation, and I'll say, your cousin has proven himself to be a great addition." The knight pats Eiko on the back, making the latter smile at the compliment. Eiko walks up to Silvus and tells him, "What about I tell you everything while we head back, so we can save your mother as soon as possible?" Silvus looks behind to see his sleeping mother. Without hesitation, he nods in agreement, and he scoops her back into his arms, approaching Eiko, telling him, "Then let's go, Sir Eiko." In the middle of Tarian Valley, southwest of Ceronian Heart, Silvus is being escorted by the knights across the main road in rows of 2. He rode on an extra snaguana they brought with them, while Osea is mounted behind him, holding onto his waist. He looks at a carriage being pulled by 2 knights at the back, where his mother is lying inside. At first, it did not feel right to him to place her in a carriage supposed to be meant for supplies. But the knights insist it is better for her to lie down and rest. Riding beside Silvus to his left is Eiko, who is telling him how he managed to join the knights. Eiko explains how during the tour he eventually met up with the knights, who allowed him to prove his worth by demonstrating his skill with the bow and arrow, and telling him his father was one of them. The knights were so impressed that they signed him up as a squire, a knight in training, under the tutelage of one of the knight captains. Then he tells him how he learned of his kidnapping. "So the night after my official training, I was trying to sleep, but I was so excited to train more, yet I couldn't. But instead, I heard footsteps. Being curious, I took a peek out of the door to see Clara escorting something out of the throne room with 2 shady guys. At first, I did not get involved, not knowing what is going on. So I went back to sleep. The next morning, I was training with the knights with Fee, watching until Arcus bursts in. And man, he was scared, telling us that you and Osea were missing." Eiko makes a big gasp for air, talking so fast, making Silvus and Osea exchange surprised looks. Shocked how far a snarky raptor like Eiko managed to explain, he continues, "Then it hit me. I realized that Clara and her goons were escorting you guys. So I told him and the knights everything. So Arcus had Clara apprehended and interrogated her to find out where you guys were. After getting some intel, Arcus had the knights on a rescue mission to save you guys in Manchester. But before they went, they wanted me to tag along by becoming a full knight, by learning that cool spell you and Dad know. Guess that explains why it took 21 sunrises to find me," Silvus thinks. He remembers from his uncle that the mist weapon spell usually takes weeks to master. Thanks to his gift, he managed to learn his in less than a few minutes. As much as he wants to scold Eiko for not saving him sooner, he is grateful that he eventually did so. He turns his gaze to one of the knights, asking how far they are from Patalot. The knights tell Silvus that the journey might take a while longer, which worries him. He is worried that his mother might not have time. All he can do is ease his worry by turning his head to the right, seeing a herd of Brontos gathered around a lake in the middle, while a flock of Petadons are seen flying south, where another kingdom called Olympidonia is located. For the rest of the ride, he focuses forward, following the knights to Patalot with his mother's health in mind. Back in the palace front courtyard, Silvus walks alongside a carriage being pulled by the knights, while Osea and Eco are behind. Looking in the carriage, he sees that his mother's scales have gotten even paler. Fee, Arcus, and the other sages are seen standing by, waiting for him by the main gates. Fee, who is now wearing a nice leather cloak, runs up with a big smile on her face. She runs past Osea, Silvus, and the knights to Eco. Eco scoops her up into his arms, giving her a passionate kiss on the lips. As it turns out, they have become a couple during Silvus' absence. Breaking the kiss, Eco tells her what happened, pointing to the knights pulling the carriage of Silvus' mother, making the latter gasp. Arcus, among the sages, runs up to the group, demanding to know what happened. Silvus steps up, with pressure swelling in his chest, telling him, "My mother needs help. Something must have happened to her." He points to the carriage, held by the knights. Arcus runs up to the carriage to see Silvira's critical condition. Making him anxious, he orders the knights to head to the healer's chambers immediately. The knights do as they are ordered and pull Silvira into the palace in a rush. Silvus watches his mother being pulled by the knights into the palace with an expression of anxiety as a tear flows down his cheek. Osea walks up beside him, holding onto his arm in comfort, looking just as worried. Eco with Fee in his arms walk to him too, joining the anxiety. In the royal living room, Silva sits on one of the 3 regal couches, looking tense below a large candlelit chandelier. He just sits, looking at his cup filled with tea, anxious for his mother's health. The anxious raptor is told that his mother is currently in the royal healer's room, being taken care of. The sound of a nearby grandfather clock continues to tick and tock. He closes his eyes, praying to the spirits that his mother will be okay. Osea sits beside Silvus and has her claw on his shoulder, giving him comfort while her other claw is in her lap. Eco and Fee are seen holding claws, looking just as worried for the silver raptor. A pair of large doors opens up, getting the party of 4's attention to see Arcus and the female healer wearing a white robe and a red necklace coming in with sad faces. Silvus gets up with a face of more worry. Every raptor knows that when a healer is not looking happy, it means something is wrong. He runs up to the 2 with his attention directly to the healer and asks, "Is my mother okay?" The healer looks to Arcus, wanting to know if she should tell him. Earning an improving nod from the latter, the healer walks up to Silvus to place a claw on his shoulder with an uneasy face.
It's it's hard for me to say this, young master, but I am afraid your mother is afflicted by some unusual poison.
"My mother is poisoned? Can't you help her?" Silvus worriedly exclaims.
We tried, young master, but the poison in her body came from a form of dark mist. For so long, she is beyond any healing.
The healer sadly explains. "Poison mist," Silvus mutters in anger. Usually, any poison can be healed by anti-venom, but poison coming from the forbidden mistcraft makes anti-venom useless, due to coming from an unknown source.
Can I help? I know a mist power that can heal poison mist.
Osea offers, rushing up next to Silvus flaring golden aura from her claws, called Antibody, the Lifemin spell that is supposed to heal any affliction, whether a virus or some incurable disease.
It is true that the only way to cure poison mist is by the use of the antibody spell. But I am afraid the poison infected her too long, and using such spell will not be effective anymore,
Arcus sadly states. The spell that Osea mentioned can only heal poison mist when the poison is in the early stage, before at least the minimum of 10 sunrises. It shatters Silvus's heart. Silvus drops to his knees, slowly breaking to tears, to say with a breaking voice,
"You mean there is nothing we can do?"
Arcus walks up to Silvus, placing the claw onto his shoulder with a disappointed sigh. Silvus, however, keeps his face down on the carpet, pounding his fisted gloved claw and tail at the same time, spouting, "No, no, no!" before he breaks into tears, trying to hold it back.
We could take you to your mother. She still has some breath to tell us that she wants to see you,"
the healer adds, making Silvus get up still in tears. Silvus is greeted by a rectangular room filled with potions, medicine, and herbs around the counters and shelves, while rows of beds are to the left. Silvus is escorted all the way to the end of the room, where his mother is still lying, looking peaceful. With the healer waiting outside the room, Silvus sits on a stool right next to his dying mother, covered in white covers. He softly strokes his mother's face, looking at her with a tear-streaked face. In his sight, he sees her locket on a nightstand to his left. Curious, Silvus picks it up, taking a closer look. He sees a switch and opens it to reveal what looks like a silver ring with a diamond in the middle.
It is the wedding ring your father gave me when we got married. He tells me it is a family heirloom,"
A weak voice calls out, startling Silvus a little, almost dropping the ring. He looks at his mother to see her slowly turning her head, looking at him with a small smile.
"I even wore the same ring when he and I finally conceived you,"
she adds with a cough, making Silvus reach out to her in response. "Mother, save your breath. Things will be—"
"I know I am dying, my son."
His mother cuts him off.
"Bylark did a lot of dark miscraft to me in order to get information, but I refused. Before your special friend released me, Bylark used a poison misspell at me."
"I knew it," Silvus thinks, making a small hiss to himself, clenching his eyes shut. He then opens his eyes, looking at his dying mother again, and tells her, "I am so sorry I did not save you sooner, but things got in the way and—" Silvus is cut off by his mother's tail into his lips, with a shh sound telling him,
"You did save me, son. With the help of your friend, you both freed me from further torment. At least, I get to see you with my own eyes one last time. Listen."
Silvira motions for Silvus to pay attention to what she is about to say.
"I don't have much time, but I believe it is time I tell you who your father is. But I want you to make a new vow,"
she tells him. "Anything, mother." Silvus grabs his mother's claw, listening to her. He will do anything to fulfill a dying wish for his mother. With a few more coughs, she tells him,
"There is an evil presence lurking in the shadows, trying to destroy our way of life. For whatever reason, I assume it is for revenge long ago. You, my son, have a greater destiny than simply being Patalot. It is why this hidden evil is trying to hunt you down. You must save Avalonia, my dear son. You must stop this war, or else Bylark and his masters will win. If they do, darkness will spread, not only in Avalonia, but also the rest of Cretacia."
She makes a few more coughs, turning her head and looking at the ceiling. "I will, mother. I will save Avalonia for you and all the good raptors." Silvus closely holds onto his mother's claw. "Who is my father?" Taking one more breath, his mother, Vessel Silvira, finally tells him,
Ultimar Salter is your father.
Then she passes out on her pillow, lifeless. Mother! Mother! Silvus calls out to her, shaking her lifeless body. He breaks into tears and sobs right onto her body. He hears footsteps approaching him from behind. He lifts up his head to see Osea looking at him with an apologetic face with claws held together, holding back tears.
I heard everything.
She tells him and kneels, giving him a comforting yet affectionate hug. Silvus cannot help but hug her back. He truly needs it. How he can feel her claw stroking his back as he continues to cry on top of her shoulder. End of chapter 22. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed further chapters. Stay tuned for chapter 23, The Lost Alpha Prince Rises. Stay tuned. Ciao.